Welcome back to the Green Room Podcast. My name is Massimo Di Stefano.
I hated that so much.
We're here at the lovely Franklin Theater in downtown Franklin.
Yet again.
No,
You
let
forgot
me do
to-
my
you
thing. I
forgot.
said my name first.
Yeah, you always shoot to me.
Yeah, I know. My name's Massimo Di Stefano. To my right, I
God.
have. Who are you?
Yet again. Not him. I'm me. I'm Brendan. Shout out.
That's
I might
crazy.
end this bit next season.
That's what I said. You said no. We'll keep it going.
Yeah, this season it was good, but man.
So we're gonna break. Is it the third or the fourth wall?
I don't know, but one of them.
One of the walls.
We're breaking the matrix.
So we
See the
didn't-
numbers.
We didn't get to post last week. We due to some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
AKA.
Basically, what happened was there was a cable that was bad, and the signal looked good, and everything when I checked it earlier was good, and then we go to edit it, and
was like,
Massimo was cutting, or microphones. God, I just said that backwards. Massimo's microphone was cutting in and out the whole time.
It was
so
bad.
here we are filming yet again, same episode, but it's okay because out of all the episodes that we know the most about, and are the most confident in doing, it's this one.
This one,
Folks, it's the
because
big one.
It is Journey versus Guns N' Roses, ladies and
It's time.
gentlemen.
It's time.
We're doing it
We've talked about it for a while.
for the second time.
Yeah, we're doing it for the second time, but for you, for the first time. We already know how this is going to go. I already know some opinions he has. He already knows some that I have. But hey, that's all
High
right.
key, I forget how
I'm
we
sure you did.
How we did.
Well, I remember the kind of because the thing that we need to be aware of while doing this is that both of us don't want to be rude to each other and each other's favorite band to a degree.
To a degree.
But also, we both like. Even though you're a Journey guy and I'm a Guns guy, I enjoy Journey. We went to go see Journey.
Where's your Guns shirt?
My
man?
Guns N' Roses shirt that I got in high school does not fit me anymore, so I don't have one currently.
That's why when I go to shows, I
haven't
get
seen them
large
since
and
high
extra-
school.
Like I get bigger sizes.
I just haven't seen them since high school. Actually, to be honest with you, no, I'll wait till I'll save it till later. I love Guns,
What?
but
You don't like the shirts?
the
merch sucks.
No, I'm gonna wait to see them if there's a full album that comes out because I
Well,
want to
they
see
put
the new
out
album.
that single.
A single, but I'm waiting to see if there's a full album.
Which I actually downloaded. I did some flying recently.
It's not
I
that bad.
downloaded to listen and I didn't get to it. I downloaded like 10 albums.
No, it's not Sweet Child of Mine. It's not Welcome to the Jungle, but it's still a good song, I think. So it still sounds like a gun. Like it sounds like Guns. Anyway, we're gonna do this in a more formatted way. We're not just gonna say go and argue until the episode's over. We're gonna be a little more formatted with it. I think
We are?
yeah, because that's how we did it last time.
I'm glad you remember.
So we're gonna kind of go over like eras, time periods, compare like Slash to Neil, like kind of do the comparison thing rather than just spew and argue for an hour because I think we'll actually get more done. You know what I mean? So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first? And
Did I
kind of
go
I think
first last time?
you went first last time. I think we should start with how the band got like formed, how the name
Yes.
came to be, how they like the first
Yeah,
record
well, we're doing
came
the
together.
decade thing, right? So prime
Kinda, yeah.
time for Journey was 70s and 80s. Prime time
Yes.
for Guns N' Roses was 80s and 90s.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about a 10-year span for each band because
No,
there's
20.
or 20, sorry. There's been so many lineup changes and different stuff that's happened with each band over the years that it's important to kind of stick to one script and know an era that you're talking about so you can actually compare. So like you said, I'm going to talk about late 80s to the 90s. You're going to talk about it's only 10 years, not 20 years. What are you talking about? We're talking about a 10-year span.
No, it's 70s through the 80s.
Well, you're talking like late 70s through to the 80s. I'm going to be
They
talking about
existed
late
in the
80s
early-
through the 90s.
Because there was stuff before Steve Perry.
Yeah, but we're not doing that, remember? We said we're going to talk mainly about...
I don't remember.
See? Perfect. That's all right.
So 15 years then.
Yeah, like 15-ish, because Guns N' Roses wasn't around that long. So,
Well, you're going to get the very beginning of Guns N' Roses, right? And
Yeah.
your spiel. So let me
Yeah.
get the beginning of Journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, go.
I'll go whenever I want to go.
This is going to be hot. All right. You go first. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
No, I'll go.
Okay,
I'll
okay,
go.
okay.
Since I'm the only one that wore something. I'm wearing a Journey shirt if you're just listening. From my first Journey concert. By the way. Which was the best shirt. And I don't want to get into tangent. But all the other shirts were like the modern designs for 2016 or whatever year I saw them. And then this is the only one that like had the classic looking. And this isn't even like one of their old logos or
Yeah.
something. It just looked more vintage. And I was like, why are they only selling one of these? And they had a ton of them left. I'm like, people are so dumb. Anyway, get into it. So, Journey was started by Neil Schon and Greg Raleigh, who left Santana Neil Sean literally dropped out of high school at like the age of 16 or something to join Santana. And then he left with Greg Raleigh to start Journey as a very like prog rock fusion almost band in the 70s, mid 70s. They had 3 albums put out, and they actually had some pretty good success with it, but nothing like commercially outrageous or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, sorry, I'm looking at the signal on the computer, and it's really low. Do I need to eat this more? Okay. And then the record label was like, you should probably get a front man, because Greg Raleigh sang, but he's behind the B3. He always used a B3.
Really? Live?
Always a B3. Yeah. And he sounded great, and so they got a guy named Robert Fleischman for just like a hot second. And if you look up on YouTube, there's a version of Wheel in the Sky with Robert Fleischman singing it. He was in the band for like, 6 months maybe? Did a couple shows, and they did Wheel in the Sky like super slow. Like it's already pretty slow, but it's like 20 clicks slower.
Huh. I think you've shown me, but I gotta listen to it.
I feel like I did. Enter Steve Perry. So what happened was Steve Perry, and the Journey's a Bay Area band from San Francisco, San Francisco-ish. And Steve was doing his thing. He was in a few bands, hopping around. He's actually a drummer for a time. And then he got into singing, and he was in this band called Alien Project, I'm pretty sure. And they were actually about to get signed. They had demos, and the record label liked them. And then I think either the drummer or the bassist got in a car crash and died, like a week, a few days before they were supposed to finalize it. And Steve I think he was 28, 29. And so he was like, all right, I'm done. He said he was going to work on his stepfather's farm and just do that. And his mom was like, no. Because a demo from that project landed on Herbie Herbert's desk, who was the manager for Journey at the time, because they were still looking for a frontman because they weren't quite satisfied with Robert.
Mm-hmm.
And Herbie called Steve and said, hey, would you come in and sit in with the band, do something, whatever. And Steve's mom was like, hey, I think you should. And he's like, okay.
Yeah.
And almost 30-year-old Steve Perry said, okay. And then the rest is kind of history. His first show with them was in 1977, New Year's Eve. And then in 78, they put out Infinity, which had Wheel in the Sky, Lights, all the very first...
all the hits, the big ones?
Well, no. Well, so the beginning of the hits,
yeah.
I'll say. Because they still do Lights and Wheel in the Sky. And to a lot of people, that's the first album because they don't know that Journey had 3 albums before him. So a lot of people think that that's like the original stuff, which I mean, it's not. But and then next year they put out an album called Evolution. It's got Love and Touch and Squeezing on it. Great album.
Shout out Glee.
And that was That was the first album with Steve Smith on drums. So now, by now, the lineup is, because Ainsley Dunbar, who's an English drummer, left. The lineup is Neil Sean, Greg Raleigh, Ross Valerie, Steve Smith, and Steve Perry.
And that's like, even though it's not the OG lineup, that's like what Journey fans consider like the lineup, right?
No.
Oh, no.
Not yet.
Oh.
Because then Jonathan Cain comes in later. That's the 70s lineup, like for the rest of the 70s.
Yeah.
And then 80. And then in 1980, they put out Departure, as well as a live album called Captured. And then Greg leaves the band because he's a bit older than the rest of the guys. He was with Santana for a long time. So he's older, and he's like, I don't really want to do the road life anymore. I'm done. Which sucks because he had a great voice that paired with Steve's very nicely. Enter Jonathan Cain. Jonathan Cain toured with the Babies, who was an opening act, I believe, or maybe the other way around, for Journey. So the band already knew him. And then when Greg left, they said, hey, you want to join? And he said yes.
Yeah.
And then this is now the classic lineup. So those same guys, except now with Jonathan Cain. That's the lineup. That's the classic lineup.
Okay.
In terms of songwriting, the best hits, the most well-known. And I'll leave it there, and you can enter on into your...
Yeah.
We'll do a few years at a time. And then,
yeah.
I'm taking this off because this stand...
Driving you nuts?
Sucks.
Zooming in on that. Yeah. I mean, so Guns obviously came later. They were after Journey had already popped. So, that like the hair metal sound, that vibe was kind of already going in LA. Not to say the Journey was hair metal, but that was just the vibe. You know what I mean? It was
not hair metal.
84-ish, 83-ish is when Guns and them, all those guys first met. So Slash grew up in LA. His mom was a clothing designer.
Yeah, good old LA. Yep.
I didn't do this to you.
I know. I'm sorry.
Anyway, his mom designed clothes for like David Bowie and Prince and stuff. His mom dated David Bowie for a couple of years. His dad made cover art for his dad made cover art for like John Lennon and Joni Mitchell, a bunch of people. So his family was he was in a family, he was in the industry, but not from the musician standpoint. You know what I mean? Like he was around, but more on the creative business side. He used to go to, his family was originally from London. They used to go over there all the time. Anyway, that's more Slash. He's living in LA, playing as a musician. You know, he grew up on Joe Perry, all those guys. And in LA, obviously, at the time, there's the Whiskey A Go Go, there's the Roxy, there's all these different clubs that all these rock bands are playing. And at the time, LA Guns, which was, everyone is kind of familiar with that name, LA Guns was popping. And at the time, Axl Rose was with the band. And I believe Izzy Stradlin was as well. And Axl is this guy from Indiana, this weird redheaded kid who moved to LA to be a singer. I'm not exactly sure where Izzy's from, but he just was in LA trying to make it as a guitar player, you know. And Slash actually moved out of his mom's house, moved into an apartment complex, and Izzy lived in that same complex. And they just kind of shouted up for a while, became friends, and then he went to go see him play with Axl. And then something happened with the band. Axl left, and then Izzy left, and so Slash kind of just jammed with them, and that's how that kind of started. And then Slash had a friend, Steven Adler, from high school that was a big Kiss fan and was like a bombard, like just like Animal from the Muppets.
Yes.
That's how Steven Adler was as a person in the 80s.
Oh, boy.
Just,
in the 80s, yeah.
Apparently at the first Guns N' Roses practice, he had like 6 rack toms, chinas on both sides, like the full thing.
Yeah.
And then they all stripped it down to 3 toms, 2 crashes a ride. They said, we're not doing
Crushing
this.
his soul.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And that's kind of how those guys all met. And then they found Duff in a newspaper. They met him at a restaurant, and he had like this long trench coat on with like green spiky hair because he was like a punk kid.
That checks out.
Yeah. And that's how they all met. They all tracked, I believe the first record was tracked at Sound City, which is like an iconic studio. That's where Dave Grohl's basement studio is built out of. Sound City closed. That's where Fleetwood Mac recorded Dreams.
Yeah.
And Dave Grohl bought it all, put it in his basement. Anyway, they recorded Appetite in 85 and 86. It didn't come out till 86, but then it started popping. I got all my years wrong. Hold on, sorry. They recorded it in 84.
I got mine right.
It came out in, I think it was 86 or 87, but it took like a year for it to pop off. Like they were touring around, playing around in LA, and they were popping in LA, but nothing like was happening worldwide or whatever. MTV, like a year later, played the Welcome to the Jungle video at like 1 a.m. on like a Monday night. So it was like the most undesirable slot of all time. And it blew, they were getting phone calls like, play it again, play it again, play it again. It blew them up. And then, yeah, I don't have as many lineup changes to talk about as you, because it was really just one band until it kind of fell apart in the 90s.
Yeah.
But they released Appetite, didn't pop, and then it all of a sudden blew up. I think Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, Mr. Brownstone, Sweet Child of Mine were all in the top 10, but Sweet Child of Mine was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for a while. So, yeah, I'm not as detailed as you, but it also was kind of Guns N' Roses isn't as, their story's kind of sloppy because they're all just these LA alcoholic musicians that just all played with other bands that just kind of turned into this gelled thing of blues rock and pop punk and classic rock.
They sometimes get called like commercial a lot and like or corporate because it's
a business band. It's a business
but
band.
not I don't know. I see where those guys come from, but I don't think it's like there's way more business bands.
Yeah, 100%.
Way more. Like they
just weren't. They weren't formed as like high school, like garage bandy as like Guns is. Like Guns,
yeah, they weren't like childhood friends. Like Toto, like they're like like Steve Lukather's like, yeah, I know the guy since I was 10. Like, come on, that's awesome.
It was more later in life. They all were musicians that kind of came into their own, and then
yeah.
Well, Well, do you want to get into the biggest
the good
like
times.
tour and time for Journey? The biggest
sure.
time.
So Greg Ronnie left in 1980. In comes Jonathan Cain. And for more specific stories, so they're writing Escape, which came out in 81. This has Don't Stop Believing, Who's Crying Now, Open Arms. Open Arms is a power ballad. And in 81, rock bands didn't really do that.
Yep.
That was pretty new. They're like, they want to be macho,
Yeah.
So Jonathan Cain had the outline. He had some parts of it already done when he was with the Babies. So he went to John Waite, who's a singer of the Babies at the time. And John Waite was like, nah, no one's going to go for that.
That's cool.
He brings it to Steve, and Steve's like, oh, yeah, this is great. And then they write it. Boom. Straight to number one.
Number one.
And Neil, I remember watching something, and Neil Sean was like, I don't really know what to do with this. Because there was no flying solo. There was no riff. There was... But what happened was a great recording. But what happened was, I remember, I think it was Neil was saying in some interview, he was like, yeah, we used to look out in our audience, it was all guys. And now when we put that song out, it was all these girls. I was like, yeah, that's what happens when we put out a power ballad. But Don't Stop Believing was not... Like, it was a good song, and it got great radio time, but it wasn't like the smash thing that it was today, or is today. Because, like, it was on Glee, it was on another episode.
Shout out Glee, yeah.
It was on
it's finale, on a bunch of stuff.
The finale of something that made it go.
Ever since it came out, the Red Wings play it at every hockey game because born and raised in South Detroit.
Well, Steve, if I'm not mistaken...
Dude, being from Michigan, that song is actually huge.
He's a Cubs
fan. Just that
fan,
born and raised in South Detroit part.
Where's Cubs again?
Chicago.
Okay. I'm pretty...
Close. It's close.
I might be making that up. No, Steve Perry's a...
White Sox fan?
No. What's on the West Coast? Because he's from California.
There's the Oakland A's.
No, it's orange. Orange and black.
That's the Baltimore Orioles. No. The Detroit Tigers are orange and blue.
There's some video of him from like a few years ago. He's like...
There's probably a team that I can't think of.
He's in the stands, like, and they're playing it, and the camera's like zoomed in on. He's like... Like he's going nuts.
That's sweet.
I forget what team.
Was it the Rangers? Texas Rangers?
No, he wouldn't do Texas. It'd either be...
Oh. Was it the Dodgers or the Angels? The LA Dodgers or the LA Angels?
Maybe.
Dodgers are blue and white. The Angels are red.
Orange.
The Angels are red.
And black?
And white and black. I don't know. Anyway.
Orange. Anyway. Doesn't matter. But, so that's the classic lineup, is that. And so they tour. This is the first time, because before this they've been putting out an album per year, and now they have a long enough tour because they got enough, prestige from the album that they tour into 1982. While they're doing that, they're writing Frontiers, which came out in 83.
93?
83.
Oh.
This has Separate Ways, Send Her My Love, Faithfully.
I love Separate Ways.
Slaps, man. And it's still the same lineup.
Sorry. Stranger Things got me into that song so much. I know you probably don't like that.
No,
it made the song cooler to me, more cinematic. It made the song more cinematic.
I do like it, but I mean, if people, they got to know the original. If they don't know the original.
Do you think they got Steve to actually sing on it, though?
No, they totally just copied.
There's a couple parts that I think that are in that, though, that aren't in the song. Have you actually listened to it?
Vocally?
Yes. You should listen to it, because I think there's some like long notes and runs and stuff that weren't in the...
Okay, I don't know if...
You need to listen to it, because it might be new Steve Perry.
It's not.
Singing old stuff. No, because it sounds much duller. And
well, it's also like...
You also talk about how, like, in between two albums, his voice, like, dramatically changed.
It did.
Stuff.
Well, I mean, they've been going for forever now. So he joined basically 78, and they toured through Frontiers again, long tour, into 84. And they actually take a break. They're like, bro, we've been going for
almost 10 years.
Well, Neil's been going for 10 years.
Yeah.
He's been going since 78, and so it's been a long haul. And they say, okay, we're gonna take. I think they took a couple of years. Steve, they all do solo projects. So Steve does his own solo thing called Street Talk with O'Sherry that comes out in 84, 85, 84.
It's a banger.
And then Neil Sean starts a project, Sean and Hammer.
Oh, sounds like Van Halen.
No, Sean. Shoot! I forget the freaking name. I can see the album cover. But then then they do the We Are the World thing. That's the first year of that.
They did We Are the World?
Steve Perry's on that.
Oh yeah, he is, yeah.
With Kenny Loggins,
That's right.
Huey Lewis, Billy Joel, Ray Charles, dude, Cyndi Lauper. I watched that video.
It's to make better day with you.
You know who's now on that?
Michael McDonald.
Michael McDonald.
Yeah.
He's not on
Because
that.
that guy was on it. Whoever was after Steve Perry.
That was Daryl
Whoever
Hall.
From
Hall and Oates.
Yeah, he kind of did it. He kind of did his Michael McDonald impression a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. And then Michael comes in.
Don't you love that they asked him?
What?
They asked him instead of John Oates.
I don't know. John, he's good, but is he as good of a singer as
It's just
Daryl
different.
Hall?
Well, he's played here.
Facts No Cap?
Daryl Hall hasn't.
Anyway, keep going.
Daryl Hall hasn't played here.
Yeah.
But he's got his whole Daryl's house. Have you seen that on
Yeah,
YouTube?
I've seen it. It's pretty
The first one I saw was Kenny Loggins. I was like, this is epic.
I've seen that one
That was
too.
epic, man.
I want Slash to do one. Anyway, keep going.
Oh, Steve Perry going to do one.
Well, yeah. Let's have him do. Dude, we talk about it all the time. If Steve Perry and Slash had a song together, you and I would lose our minds.
Also, something fun about this time, there's a little bit of a tangent, but so 84, Van Halen's 1984 comes out, and then David Lee Roth leaves, right? Steve Perry gets a phone call from Eddie. Says, "Hey man, you want to come hang?" This is after
I
David
didn't
left.
know this. I didn't know.
He
it
says,
did this.
"Hey, you want to come hang?" We're like, "Okay." They come hang, and because they're looking for a new front guy, and they were thinking about getting Steve.
Could you imagine Steve
And
Perry and Van Halen?
they ended up going with Sammy.
Yeah.
But imagine
Steve doesn't have the
Steve-
energy. Could you imagine Steve
He
standing up
could,
there
man.
with that mic, like sticks his gut out and leans back, and Eddie's just running around the stage tapping, and Steve's just standing there like this?
Imagine Steve Perry singing "Dreams."
It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right. It would be cool, but it wouldn't be right.
I think
You know it.
I think it'd be great.
But it wouldn't be right.
No. It would be great.
Like, you know how Slash was, you don't know this, Slash was almost in Poison. Could you imagine Slash in Poison?
No.
No way. Exactly.
That's Poison. It's not Guns N' Roses.
I mean, yeah, but Journey isn't, Van
Journey-
Halen isn't Journey, though. I know it's not as much of a jump, but Journey also
they're
isn't
like on
Van
the
Halen.
same level. Poison, I don't think got to the same
You know what would
heights
have happened?
as
Steve
them.
would have probably, his voice would have
Gone
hurt
worse.
much
Yes.
quicker.
I agree. Because that would have been I mean
Doing all that stuff?
not that the wow all that
Yeah,
David Lee
yeah.
Roth stuff. Yeah.
Dude, imagine him trying to do that every show and then sing. Oh my God, it'd take a tour.
Sammy's insane for that though.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, Sammy also
I watched-
was like 18, right? Compared to the other guys. He was so much younger than everybody
Not
else.
by much.
I mean, enough that his
Not
lungs are probably
18.
not 18.
No, he had solo stuff in the 70s.
well, yeah, but he
man.
was younger than the rest of the band when he joined, right?
Mm-mm.
I thought he was like
He
a couple
been-
years younger.
No, because he was in a band called the Montrose. He had a solo career all before
No,
that.
I mean like his age. He was
I
younger
know.
than everybody
He was
else,
going
right?
since the 70s
Well,
still.
he was younger than the rest of the band, though. That's what I'm
But
saying.
not by much. I need to look this up.
We can't.
We're going to look it up.
We can't. We'll look it up after. Anyway, keep going. Keep going.
He wasn't
Whatever this faithfully came out, whatever the hell, keep going.
83.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then they come back together
Sorry.
for Raised on Radio in 1986.
Mm-hmm.
Except they kind of fire Steve Smith and Ross Valerie, the rhythm section.
Oh, love that.
I think they play on a couple tunes, but they don't go on tour. They don't do the whole album, which is fine. I don't know what Ross Valerie does. My man, I don't know if he does anything besides Journey for his whole life. Like I don't,
Really?
which is nothing wrong with that. I've
Yeah.
never read anything. But Steve Smith, because he's a jazz guy originally, he went to Berkeley in Boston. He started a band called Vital Information. It's very jazz stuff, and he's still going to this day, but it started in the 80s. Anyway, so they get a guy named Larry Bird.
Larry Bird,
No.
like the basketball player.
No.
That would be sick. If Larry Bird joined Journey, that would be so cool. Could you
Shoot.
imagine him up there just
Larry
like,
something. I might be wrong. I can't remember the drummer's
I
name.
don't know.
That-
You're a
okay.
Journey fan.
I know. I can't remember the drummer's name. He was on the one tour.
You're a drummer and a Journey fan.
Go away.
You got a lot of Googling to do after this episode.
Just the one. They got Randy Jackson on bass, though, which is way more important than the drummer.
That would have been sick to see.
I know. And he was wearing like the tight thing. And he had
Those
he
weird
had-
basses.
He had it was pink and white polka dot bass.
Yeah, but it was
that's-
like a weird bass. It wasn't like a Fender bass. It was also a weird bass.
No, it was a.
I don't
What do you
think
mean,
it
like the
was,
shape of it?
no, like the actual bass itself. I don't know.
It was a bass.
I mean, yeah, but it was like not a normal bass.
Yeah, I think it had 5 strings.
Man,
I don't know, maybe. I have to look back.
Keep going. Real bass players play 5 strings.
Okay. That's a hot take, I think.
It is.
That's a hot take.
And I don't actually stand by that. I just felt like saying it. I just felt like saying it. I
pissing-
knew it would be
You like
polarizing.
pissing 4-stringers off?
I knew it would be polarizing. Yeah. Keep going.
What about 6 strings?
6 strings? I almost think it's too much.
Anything? What do you do? Anything over 6?
On
Anything
bass,
like that? Yeah.
you're playing guitar. Anything over 6, you're just playing guitar. You're playing an octave down guitar.
Basically.
Yeah.
7?
That's exactly what you're doing.
8?
I mean, there's 9-string guitars.
9?
Yeah.
There's 12-string guitars.
Yeah. Anyway.
So they go on tour, and Steve, his voice has definitely changed. It's very much lower, but he still has like he's singing from a different spot. Anyway, not the point. They tour. They come back in '87, early '87, and he's done. He's toast. He's like so burnt out from touring. I think his mom had passed or was super ill, and she eventually did pass, which was a big thing for him. He was just burnt out. I think I read somewhere he just didn't like listen to music for a long time, for like a year or something. I think he bought a truck with no CD player or whatever in it, just so he didn't have to. I may have to thinking
Get
of
away from
him
music.
or someone else, but it was like very like he was done. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
For that. And they don't do anything else for the rest of the 80s. They're done. Neil Sean and Jonathan Cain started a band called Bad English with Dean Castronovo and John Waite.
Bad English is good.
And they have the song When I See You Smile.
Neil Sean's in Bad English?
Him and Jonathan Cain started it.
Oh. I was talking to Julie the other day, and she was upset with me. I didn't know who the Babies were.
Yeah,
and
John
then
Waite.
she was like, but you know who Bad English is, right? I was like, yeah. All right. I think, should we talk about the ending of each? Oh, wait, no, I haven't even gone into Guns' biggest tour.
I was going to say, just do your next segment,
Yeah, so-
your good times.
So Guns, they did the Appetite for Destruction tour from like 85 or 86 till like 90, which is pretty, till 88, I'm sorry, which is a pretty long tour, but it was a US tour. It wasn't anything crazy. I mean, it was a long tour, but it wasn't like big shows, big tour rigs. You know, it was just the first big tour for a band. They released an acoustic album in, I think it was 89 or 90, which was a couple covers, couple just live performances, and a couple new songs with Patience, which went really popular. It was kind of one of their first slower songs, which actually I was reading up today about it with Massimo. It was the whole point of power ballads had died after Journey in 84, you said? 83, 84 is when they stopped touring?
No.
In the 80s. You said they stopped touring in the 80s. When was that?
In 84.
In
But it's
84.
not like they...
No. But
It was like a year and a half break.
But there was no power ballads in stadiums for a while
It's
from
not
them.
like other bands weren't doing it.
I mean, yeah, but there was no big rock bands doing it the way the Journey was doing it once they quit.
No, everyone was doing it. By the mid-'80s, everyone was doing it.
I don't know.
It sucks that they're all escaping my mind right now. But
Because I don't think they were all doing
Kenny
it.
Loggins forever.
No,
that might have come out later,
they
but
weren't
Kenny
rock,
Loggins
he
did
wasn't
forever.
a rock band. I'm saying hard rock
Kenny-
bands that are doing ballads.
Journey's not a hard rock
Well,
band.
they're not a pop band like Kenny Loggins.
No,
Kenny
but
Loggins.
Kenny Loggins was
He's a
classic
pop artist.
rock.
He's a pop artist.
Rock.
Classic pop.
Rock.
It's a whole other episode. Anyway, Guns N' Roses was credited for revitalizing power ballads in the late 80s.
Can we get into an argument about Kenny Loggins?
That's not for this episode.
Who I don't know if anyone that's
Footloose
ever
is the most not rock song of all time. Anyway,
what would you call it?
pop.
Pop rock.
80s pop.
Pop rock.
80s pop.
Rock.
No. Anyway,
Rock.
they released that acoustic album. It's got Patience. Patience does really well. Also, Axl Rose says the N-word on that album, which was very polarizing, and he got in a lot of trouble for. Yeah, it was an acoustic song, which also had drums and distorted guitar on it, so I don't know if you
so
call it
not
acoustic.
an acoustic song. Got it.
And he's talking about, like, politically, like, what was going on in the world at the time, and he just says the N-word, not in the easy way. He says it extra bad, and he got in a lot of trouble for it. He thought, like using big words and saying things that'll really get the listener's attention.
Oh, that did.
It did
It
for
really
sure.
did.
Almost ended their careers, actually. And then they released Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 in 1991, which had November Rain, Estranged, Don't Cry, like there's Sweet Child of Mine, and there's those songs, and then there's the more adult, more grown-up Guns N' Roses of the original lineup, which is that record. Before the record came out, they had to kick out the drummer because he was a crazy heroin addict.
Nice.
They replaced him with Matt Sorum, who used to play with The Cure.
Oh, yeah.
And, or not The Cure, I'm sorry, The Cult. He used to play with The Cult and a few other bands. He's a great drummer. You would love him a lot because that's when the reverb came into Guns N' Roses. Yeah, first record was just kind of short, still 80s, but not crazy. You listen to November Rain. It's nuts. But yeah, they go on I think it's just called the Use Your Illusion tour from like 90 to like 94. And they went crazy. They filmed a concert in Japan in 92. That is like their most viewed thing ever. Slash did his Godfather solo at that show, which kind of
solo.
Yeah, he did the Godfather theme. He did a whole like 10-20 minute solo that turned into the Godfather theme, and then the band came back in, and then he's soloing over the Godfather theme.
How have I not heard that?
It's
or
sweet.
Knew that.
That is kind of where Slash became from being the guitar player in Guns N' Roses to playing this guitar player that's also in Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
It really kind of put him over the edge. Also, around that same time, he started his own project, Slash a Snake Pit, which I've played a couple things for you before. It's more kind of southern, just rock, just more aggressive, not as soft. It's not swung. It's not like jazzy or whatever.
Do you not know what song that is?
No. What song was that? You don't even know.
No. It's The Doors.
What song is it then?
Roadhouse.
Oh, nice. I don't know it. Anyway, they go on the super long tour.
Song?
I don't really listen to The Doors a lot. Anyway, they go on that tour. In the middle of that tour, Izzy Stradlin leaves the band. I think it was probably a year in. They replaced him with Gilby Clarke, who I think he had a better stage presence than Izzy, although in the record after that, I don't think he was as good of a rhythm guitar player in the recordings. He just kind of played a Les Paul the whole time. He didn't switch it up tonally. Izzy would have like 3 strats, a bunch of hollow bodies. It was cool. And yeah, that tour kind of messed the band up though, because they all started drinking a lot. Axl was like 3 hours late to every show. Now? This is 92. This is 91 through 93, really.
So they've been going
since 86, nonstop.
Like way more nonstop than Journey, to be honest, because they just tour.
Because they were all of a sudden, they were in the middle of the night. Welcome to the Jungle blows up.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, all around the world, they're wanted. And I said this in the last episode. I'm going to say it again. It's a little controversial to say this, but before Guns N' Roses,
last time we recorded this,
yes. Before they left for that tour, LA still looked like hair metal style. You know, the big teased hair, guys wearing the makeup, the big flamboyant colors. And then when they came back from that tour in 92, because they did take a break, I think. They took a little break in the middle. LA, everyone was wearing ripped jeans, bandanas, flannels, the whole nine. Which you can also say, because that's kind of when Nirvana and Kurt Cobain and that whole grunge sound started to brew, and that definitely was that vibe and that clothing style. But I think Guns, and that tour especially, really helped the world change from hair metal into grunge. They were the perfect evolution. They were the perfect
or harder
kind of
rock sound.
Yeah.
With the 80s synths.
Because Bad English
stuff.
also, they're not too like hair metal-y. They're not. At first they were a little bit, but they're an
80s hair band.
They didn't turn into that though. Like their 90s stuff is.
They didn't go for that long.
I feel like some of their later
I think they only
stuff,
had
though,
2 albums.
Didn't they come back way later though? Like
I don't know. I think they only had 2 albums.
I don't know. I feel like all the stuff I've heard of them on the radio isn't as 80s as everything else was.
It's 80s hair rock.
I don't know.
Not metal rock.
But yeah, and
Have
then
you heard the ballad When I See You Smile?
I think so.
It's very like
4-second reverb.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good though.
Yeah, Axl was a real drama queen by the time this started happening. He was a real prima donna. He was like 3 hours late to like every show. He would end the shows early. They didn't know what the set was. They'd make it up on the spot. So it's like 10 minutes in between songs because they're arguing about which song to play.
Fun, but then you get to that point, it's like, oh, okay.
Axl would just fight people in the audience too. He would just pick someone and be like, I don't like, and just jump. There's so many videos of him jumping into the audience. There's also a famous time where they were very late to a show and then they cut the show short because Axl had a tantrum. And this was in St. Louis, and the audience revolted, started throwing their chairs on. They rushed the stage. They tore the truss down. They tore all the lights.
Yeah.
They ruined everything. It was a whole riot. It was wild. Yeah,
Steve Perry didn't do that.
yeah. This tour kind of killed Guns.
There's actually a video online. I think it's from the Frontiers tour, '83, and someone threw a bottle at Neil Schon, and there's a huge cut on his face, and he was bleeding. And Steve was like swearing up a storm. He's like, "What are you doing? You know?" It's like we could, and then there's like you can hear front of house talking, and it's like, "Oh my gosh, they might walk off." Like they were pissed, and then he's like, "All right, here's the next song."
Yeah.
But like for like a few minutes, they're like, "Oh my gosh, he's walking off." Like they're all gonna walk off because someone threw like a beer bottle and a cut on his face.
Hit him right in the face.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I know. Like, come on, audiences. What are you doing here?
What are we doing?
What are we doing? Unless they actually suck. But it's Journey in '83. It's the prime time.
But yeah, that tour kind of killed Guns. They all started fighting, hating each other. They didn't really write any music on this tour because they were so busy hating each other and drinking. So kind of killed Guns.
Yeah. Journey was getting at their throats, too. That's also why they were wanting to break.
Yeah.
In '83, and after the Raised on Radio tour, they're like, okay, I see you every day, 24/7. Let's.
Yeah, it ended up just being Axl wanted to keep doing more ballads and get lighter, and Slash wanted to stay rock band. And that's kind of Slash left Guns, and then Duff left Guns, and then that was the end. And then Axl bought the name, and then booked Buckethead and all these other awful players to just be in Guns N' Roses. So whatever. That's
tell us how you really feel about it.
It's not a part of the decades we're talking about, but Cornrow Axl Rose is the worst. I hate Axl Rose when he replaced. It was just in the early 2000s. You want to know what Guns N' Roses was? It was Axl Rose with Avenged Sevenfold as his band, and then he kicked all of them out and booked Buckethead and a bunch of losers to play in his band. Not losers because they were good musicians.
Dang!
It's not Slash.
You heard
it's not
it here.
Axl. It's not Izzy. They're not. I take it back. They're not losers. It's just. As a Guns fan, I wish he would have.
They're losers.
I wish he would have just taken a seat and just not released anything rather than trying to. Because like, real Guns fans hate that era. It just real Guns fans hate that era. It's so like
you're a real Guns
fan?
fan?
It's like the prequels of Star Wars. Like real Star Wars fans hate the prequels. Real Guns fans hate.
But we grew up with it, so
yeah. Well, our age, different
sequels. No one likes those.
Do you want to talk about
Star Wars?
No, I was thinking. Do you want to compare guitar players?
Really quick,
we need
because
to.
it's not.
Because it's not even. It's not even a. Go. Hold on.
No, look,
it's not even a competition.
I don't. I think as a person, Slash will win every single time over Neil Schon.
As a person, like his personality.
Yes, which I think plays a role. I do think.
What do you know about Slash's personality?
I know he's not Neil.
Facts.
I actually love Neil Schon's playing most of the time.
He's a good player,
and I like Neil Schon soloing way more than Slash. I think Slash is a bit more consistent and down to earth, but not in like a dumbed down way or a subtle way.
You think Neil Schon's solos are better than Slash's?
Most of the time. Not all the time. Maybe some of the time. I'll go like 60%.
But can I ask you, what solo of Slash's are you comparing it to? Because you only probably know Sweet Child of Mine solo.
I know the famous solos.
And November Rain.
I know all Slash's famous solos.
But
you
know every single Neil Schon solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know
actually, yes, I do.
And I know every single Slash solo. And not a lot of. So I will
say I think Slash got better and Neil Schon got worse.
That is true. Slash, I think, peaked in 2014.
No, I think Neil. I think Neil was consistently really good, and then in the 90s,
can I tell you what down. Because I play guitar or whatever. From a guitar player,
Neil's never going to see this, so I don't really care what I say.
Slash, if you see this, you're the best.
Neil, if you see this, you're the best, but also you probably won't like me now, so I don't care.
The thing is with Slash is...
Lower your ticket prices, Journey.
I think Slash peaked in like 2012, 2014, and I think that Slash is more of a live player.
Okay.
Where he tracked it on the recording, but you go to
too.
see him live, and you just see him rip for longer.
Neil too.
But I feel like he was more like in the studio trying to nail the melody and the harmony of the solo, and then live
he just does
what he wants. I think Slash.
Yeah, but he's great at taking what he laid in the studio and making it into a lot more live thing. Like he's great at taking that and still keeping the essence of that.
I don't think Neil is as original as Slash. And what I'm
Yeah.
is because exactly you know what I'm going to say.
Because of Eddie.
Because he's just Eddie Van Halen.
He wants to be.
He just wants to be. He's a little more melodic than Eddie in certain solos. He's more melodic voicing, some longer notes.
And then he rips it like.
And then he does, but
he does do a lot of just throwing notes at your face.
that's what he does.
Which is like,
and I think I explained this to you last
like,
time we filmed it too. He does this big long emotional notes, and then really fast lead up to another big long emotional note, and then you know what I mean?
All the time.
Which it's cool, and because Eddie did it too. But
it's different. It's different.
It's different.
But like you don't look up.
I think it sounds more dated. It doesn't. I think when you listen to it now, it doesn't sound as.
But it's not bad.
It's not bad at all. I'm just saying. I think it sounds a little more dated because I think Slash comes a little more from the blues and stuff, which is from so long ago and so currently.
Oh, you saying Slash is dated?
No, I think Slash. I think Neil's playing was perfect. Like his sound and stuff is very 70s, 80s, 90s. Well, I think Slash can do a more 60s, like bluesy, like old school thing, which makes him sound
I don't know,
more nostalgic,
Neil,
which also sounds more.
He started in Santana, which had some blues elements.
I mean, yeah, but he didn't do that in Journey. He didn't really do that in Journey.
No, but it's not like he didn't take it with him.
Well, yeah. I
think he could do blues stuff. He does do blues stuff. What do you think Love and Touch and Squeezing is? Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, but that's like Journey blues. It's not real blues. That's not true. It is real blues.
It's not real blues.
But it's produced blues.
That's the wrong term, I think.
What, produced blues?
Yeah.
It's a different, that's like a ballad.
Like
blues.
I
That's
get what you're saying.
It's not.
It's just like a ballad. Love and Touch
It's
and Squeezing
ballad
is not
blues.
a ballad.
What about the Glee version?
Shut up. If you talk about, I'm leaving if you talk about that.
I think one thing for both these bands is, for me personally, and I also think now looking back at it, Guns it's the Slash and Axl show kind of, and I feel
Journey's the Steve.
the
and
Journey's
Neil
the
show.
Steve, but it's more the Steve show.
It was the Steve show, and then when he left, it became the Neil show. Yes.
And I feel like for Guns, it was the Axl and Slash show, and then Slash left. It was the Axl show, but it wasn't as big as it was.
Yeah.
Slash came back, and now it's the Axl and Slash show again. And when Slash left, Slash went and did his own thing, and it was the Slash show.
Yep.
So I think they're completely different guitar players. I don't think Slash could have been in Journey. I don't think Neil could have been in Guns N' Roses.
I think Neil could have done Guns N' Roses, but I don't think it wouldn't have been.
No.
He wouldn't have come up with like Sweet Child of Mine. He wouldn't have come up with those licks.
That's Guns N' Roses.
Exactly. But he could have done it. Like if he replaced Slash after those were written,
he would have been better than Buckethead.
Oh yeah.
I would have been happier if it was him than Buckethead. But
I don't think. But Slash couldn't do the Rip and Neil stuff. I don't think his soloing live, like he couldn't. I don't think he could do that.
I don't know. As a Slash fan, I obviously, like, all this Neil stuff. I know all the Slash stuff. There's so many Slash can play so fast, and he just chooses not to, which sounds like he just. But there's so many live performances of him just choosing, just for 4 minutes straight, just going like that. I can send you. I think I've shown it to you also. There's a live of Anastasia in 2012 where he just does that.
Yeah.
He can. He just doesn't.
Does what? What?
All this kind of stuff.
I'm zooming in on that.
But it's not who he is as a guitar player. He's that because he talked about in his book in the 80s of like he wanted to get out of the hair metal shred thing. He's not a shredder. He's not a hair metal guy. He's a blues hard rock guy that grew up in that era.
Yeah.
And is kind of turning into his own thing. You know what I mean?
Okay, I think we settled on that one.
Yeah. Vocals. Let's go into singers.
The last one is vocals. And this is an easy dub.
The way that you basically...
dub.
Let's go back to that for a second. Do you think... Let's be objective here before we move on. Slash or Neil? Which one is objectively better?
Better in what way?
Just objectively. We did this last time and you said Slash. When we filmed it last time, you were like, even though I love Sean, I think Neil is objectively a better guitar player.
Neil?
Slash. I'm sorry.
There we go. He said Neil.
I'm sorry. I meant Slash. That's what you said. You said that.
Is that what I said?
You did because I gave.
Guys, I don't remember stuff. All right.
Because then when we did Steve, I was like, Steve is tremendously better than Axl.
He just spoiled that one.
Well, it's true.
It is true.
It's true.
Like light years away better.
Axl's a great frontman at being entertaining, but when it comes to
barely, I don't even like his stage presence.
I mean, he used to run around the stage and do the whole thing and sing into the audience like a front man does. And he had that scratchy voice, which was like it was new. It was new, so that's why people liked it because it was new. It's not like what everybody else sounded like. But objectively, Steve is much better.
I think factually, Steve is better.
Yeah, that's objectively is basically factually.
What's the other one?
Subjectively is what subjectively means.
I thought it was the
individual.
other way.
Objectively means like everybody in the world. So like when I say which one do you think is objectively better, Slash or Neil Sean? To everyone in the world, if you were to play them both,
You're not.
to everyone in the world,
Totally
if you were to everyone in the world, if you were to play both guitar players, like 10 songs of each guitar player of all eras, objectively, do you think the general public would think Neil Sean or Slash is a better guitar player? I think it's Slash. Obviously, I'm biased, but I think
non-guitar players would say Neil, and then actual guitar players would say Slash.
That's true, because non-guitar players think fast is better.
And because I'm not a guitar player,
I
gotta go Slash. I gotta go Neil. Sorry.
Yeah. I guess that's true. You got as a guitar player, I know that playing fast is actually a cover up.
Well,
it's actually just covering.
Look, I remember growing up listening to Neil's guitar parts, and them just being the most insane thing I've ever heard.
They are insane. I'm not trying to diminish it. He is an
I know
insane
that
guitar player.
So it's hard for me to say anything but. So.
Yeah.
But then you think
But
Slash.
I do think that Neil is more of a shredder than Slash and probably does that better than Slash does. I just think, I don't know.
Okay.
I think Slash could do more genres than Neil. Do you agree?
Yeah.
I don't think Neil could do country. Slash could get away with doing country.
No, Slash could do. He's variety-wise. Slash
is more versatile than Neil.
I agree. Okay, Axl and Steve.
Steve by a landslide.
Like
the thing with Steve
by
is
like 10
because
landslides.
Axl didn't really sing, and when Axl sang, it was low and like not him really singing. Steve,
take me down to the
Paradise City.
Okay,
where
no copyright. No
or
copyright.
November Rain. He's like, yeah. But Steve's got the range, and over time he got raspier, which to you is like, well, his voice is going down, but to me, I think sounds cool.
No. I loved it. Sometimes I'll be in the mood to listen to the later 80s or 90s stuff that he did because it's just it's just the characteristics, the minutia of his voice change, but the essence is still there. And I'm using all these words that I usually don't use, and
I was about to say those are big words.
Yeah, those are big for me.
Yeah, I think it's.
But like in the 70s, his voice was like clear as a bell. Yeah, and it was great.
I think it's also interesting though, and you listen to both singers like mixes and stuff. Kind of similar, like. Axl likes reverb, but not the way Steve does. Steve loves reverb. There's that one song that you show me every time we talk about this.
I forget.
I think it's either a solo Steve thing or it's an old like unreleased Journey thing. But it's got the longest reverb of all time. You're like, dude, isn't it so cool? And I'm like, I can hear his last line still. I'm like, which is cool, but I'm like, holy moly. Axl wasn't that into it. I don't think he was as much of a singer like aficionado.
Yeah.
He was just like, I'm a rock guy and I love being in a rock band and I'm
this
singing.
Means aficionado.
Yeah, you missed it. I was doing the gabagool hands. Steve Perry's more of an aficionado. He knows what he's doing.
He's Portuguese. Calm down.
Hey, but I'm doing the gabagool hands. Yeah, no. Steve Perry is, I think, objectively a better singer by a landslide.
Easily. And if you think otherwise, I mean.
But I also, same thing. I don't think Steve Perry could have been in Guns and vice versa. Axl definitely couldn't have been in Journey. Steve couldn't be in Guns because Guns wouldn't be good with normal singing.
I'm trying to imagine Steve singing "Sweet Child of Mine" right now.
So, like for me,
I think he could. I think he'd knock out
sound good, but it wouldn't be like if it was released.
It's not Axl.
If it was released, if "Sweet Child of Mine" came out with Steve Perry and not Axl, and none of us knew
it'd be a different song.
Axl on it,
it'd be a different song. Because he would take a more melodic approach than...
And then I think it would diminish the guitar part if he was more... I think part of the beauty is that Axl doesn't do too much crazy stuff on that song. So when you listen to it...
He gets pretty high though. But
but he's not like doing a whole bunch of crazy shit. So that
jacks.
when Slash does a solo and there's the riffs, you're like... You're back and forthing.
Yeah.
I don't know. So if we were to put all this together... on a scale of 1 to 10... Let's compare each other's bands of how good you think they are. Because obviously each of us are going to say 10 about each other's bands.
10.
Do you think Guns N' Roses on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think they're at? On an objective 1 to 10. Which I know is hard to do because it's like everything's subjective when it comes to music. But if you were to just think good band to bad band on a scale of 1 to 10, where's Guns N' Roses? 10 being good, 1 being bad. And I'm gonna do Journey too. And I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna give Journey a 1. So it's like, be real in your.
Good, because I was gonna get Guns N' Roses. I'm kidding.
As a fan for Guns, I say 10, but as a real person, I think Guns is a 7 or an 8.
6.5.
Okay, that's fair. For you to say that and for me to say 7 or an 8, like being real, I think it's fair.
I think I'm also thinking about the band history.
Yeah.
And like the substance abuse and then Axl
and all the substitutes and all that.
Yeah. Journey nowadays, you could probably say the same thing because there's lawsuits flying everywhere. So, okay, what about you? What about you?
I think Journey is, because they're also different bands. I think Guns N' Roses is more of a hard rock band than Journey is. Not to say that Journey
didn't. Well, they had a couple harder stuff,
but like most of their popping songs, if you compare Journey's Spotify top 5 to Guns N' Roses Spotify top 5,
different songs.
Guns N' Roses is going to be objectively more hard rock. So I think I think Journey is probably like a 7.
That means I win, right?
Not
because I said 6, you said 7.
Well, it's not a win or lose.
I win.
Thing.
No, I win.
No, because no, you don't.
I win.
No.
This has been the Agreement Podcast.
I didn't even give you the rating of... Oh, wait, no, I just said 7.
You just said 7.
But then you
Follow
said
us
6.
on Instagram
No,
and
stop.
TikTok.
I'm not letting you do this. I'm not letting you do this.
What else is there to say? We're done.
We need to end this by saying they're different bands. They're completely different bands.
Yeah, but you gave Journey a high rating than me giving Guns N' Roses. So
I also think that you're a little bit harsher of a critic than I am. I think I'm more willing to give...
I grew up with Guns N' Roses just like you, except not as hardcore.
I did not grow up with Journey.
Exactly. So that means my opinion is a bit more less biased.
No.
Yes.
Folks, put it in the comments on a scale of 1 to 10, Journey and Guns N' Roses. I personally think, even though you said 6.5, I was saying 7 because I think they're more, everybody would want to listen to Journey more than they'd want to listen to Guns because not everybody likes rock music. Mm-hmm. But when I think musician-wise, like when it comes to musicians...
You said overall objectively. That doesn't matter.
If we're bringing it up musician-wise, I think Guns is better. But when it comes to listening, I think Journey's better.
I know.
Journey's more listenable.
Between Steve Smith and Steve Perry alone, their technicality, bro, beats me every time.
No.
Because geez.
Duff McKagan as a bassist, we didn't even get into bass players. Duff McKagan is 30 times better than any of those bass players combined.
It's just Ross Valerie. And Randy Jackson, you think it's better than Randy Jackson?
Randy Jackson, did he write any of those things or was he just playing other people's parts?
No, he recorded, I'm pretty sure he recorded some stuff on Raisin Radio.
I was gonna say,
so he's got some original
He's just
stuff.
basically Foreigner then. He's just doing what Foreigner did. He's just being he's just a live cover band.
Whatever. Doesn't matter. This has been Agreement. We gotta get going here. This has been an Agreement Podcast.
Put it in the comments.
But let us know what your thoughts, because I win.
Maybe in the future we can do a Neil Sean versus Slash one and get more into it.
Yeah, but I'm not a guitar player, so I wouldn't have anything to talk about.
Maybe we'll, over time, I'm sure we'll get more into this topic.
Let us know what else you want us to talk about in terms of these bands or other bands that we both know.
We could also maybe do an episode and argue
Dave Matthews and
5150 about how I hate that album and you love that album.
I don't like the production.
It's the worst sounding album of all time. What are we talking about? It sounds terrible.
But the songs are great. Anyway, follow us on Instagram, TikTok. I'm Massimo D Music everywhere. Massimo DiStefano on YouTube. I've got some fun stuff coming up on YouTube for the first time in a very, very long time. So please check it out. Massimo DiStefano. You can find my Instagram, Massimo D Music. Mm-hmm. Brendan.
Go on my Instagram, BDEN_Ayton. I'm probably going to start posting some more like things about
you
the
said that this
I know.
whole
I keep saying it. My goal is that I'm going to start posting some more things about my job and, like posting cool gigs and stuff that I worked. Because I was talking to Shay the other day and we realized that we haven't been posting like anything we do here. Which
I know she posted the mountain stage stuff.
And I think I'm going to start posting a little bit more. So look out for
can
that.
I?
Yeah, go ahead. Why not?
Okay.
Look out for more weight. Hopefully have a single out at some point. We just worked on it and basically finished it yesterday. So follow more weight. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thank you guys for listening.
We have 2 more episodes in the season. Put in the comments if there's anything you're looking forward to for next season. If there's anything you want us to talk about.
We'll catch you next time, guys. Ciao.
Peace.